So Dennis, we've been talking about cultural differences. I'm on this part of the world, you're on the other end of the spectrum. And I feel, attach shame to all the wrong things. But at the same time, things which are perfectly natural, perfectly normal, not a crime, not a sin, we would attach shame to it. At the same time, people can get away with doing some really stupid, crazy stuff, and there'd be no shame in it. I mean, for example, not wearing a mask. It's my right not to wear a mask. For instance, doing other stupid, crazy shit. In the beginning, people wouldn't wear seatbelts. It's my right not to. It's my life. In Germany, they were protesting, my life, I'm going to live it anywhere, I like. There was some slogan, which I don't remember, meine Gesundheit, something like that. My life, I'm going to do whatever I want to do with it. So, at the same time, perfectly natural acts like breastfeeding, menstruating, and we attach shame to it. On your part of the world, there's this whole brouhaha about breastfeeding in public. In my part of the world, that's a complete no brouhaha. That'd be like the mortal sin. At the same time, if a woman goes to buy sanitary pads at a shop, there'd be so much shame attached to it. As we go on, I'll open with that experience. Back in the early 90s, I needed to go buy pads. I'm going to say something which is really going to maybe come back to bite me. Well, let's put it this way. With a family member, for a female family member, I was coming from somewhere, I said, could you just pick some pads for me? I said, all right, sure. Not my wife. And I go to the shop, and I'm standing there. I'm like, which one do I get? Because I don't know. I'm young, and I'm trying to pick, and everyone's looking at me like I'm some sort of a monster. So I pick a couple, and I'm like, let me just take this and this, and I go and plop it on the counter and say, I want these two. And then suddenly this guy was like, and hiding in brown paper bags. I'm like, what's wrong, man? He goes, you can't buy it. I said, why? It doesn't look right. I said, listen, my mother has them, my sister has them. And if your mother's normal, she has them too. And if she doesn't have them, you have a problem. You need to go take her to a doctor, or there's something very wrong with her. Maybe she's a man. So why attach shame to it? And it went so far in this part of the world that India actually made a movie. I think it was 2017. And the movie is called, 2018. The movie is actually called Padman. Just to make it politically and culturally okay to discuss menstruation. That's how screwed up society is. So Dennis, while in America, you're progressive. You can walk almost half naked. In California, you could be in a G-string and a little thing, and you can walk publicly. There's no crime. In some states, you could walk butt naked and it's perfectly all right.
Yeah.
What's the crisis and shame and breastfeeding in public, man? What's wrong with it?
You know what? It's a really crazy topic. And the interesting thing is, and I'd say this, I have actually been in business meetings. So when I was in public safety, I actually would take and go into meetings, like in California, even here in my own state, where there would literally be like 3 or 4 guys, 3 or 4 men. We would have a meeting, and 3 or 4 guys wouldn't have shirts on, because we were like meeting outside. We would have a meeting outside by the beach. We would have a meeting, on a picnic table in the back of our office building. And so, it was not, these were like weekend meetings and stuff. People didn't just go to work with no shirt on. I don't want to give that kind of impression. But to your point is that, yes, listen, one of the fire stations I wanted to work at the most, especially when I was younger, was the one right there by the university. Because during spring break and the summer and everything else, nobody wore anything. So it's really a strange concept to me that now we have taken. I think what it is in the United States we have sexualized and fetishized so many things. Personally, I think that the same people that find a woman breastfeeding like if that's some sort of sexual thing, these are probably the same people that like to be pissed on. Why would it makes no sense. We dress a certain way in regularly, and now all of a sudden a woman feeding her baby is somehow sexualized or political or anything else. And just to kind of go on to, you started off with a story. What I remember and why I got so pissed off with this. My wife is very conservative, very, very conservative. You know, she's the type that wears a robe here at home and covers and everything else. So, like, that's her choice. That's how she feels empowered. And so this is not somebody that walks around in a bikini, not somebody that, like, even if we go to the beach, she's more covered than most. So, like, to see her, we actually had somebody be so unkind to us when she was needed to feed our child when we were out at a restaurant. And again, she puts a whole blanket over the top of her. Nobody could see anything. And yet she ended up having to go sit in the car in 115-degree heat, sit there in a car with the air conditioner running so our child could eat, just so that somebody else wasn't offended. Like, what's offensive in this whole situation? You talk about shame, and yet there's plenty of shame that goes into men who are encouraged to be sexually promiscuous, yet you go in to buy condoms, and there's a certain amount of shame involved with that.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't understand. I don't understand this whole thing. So I apologize. I spoke for a bit. The whole concept, this whole topic makes no sense to me at all. It's feeding a child, like, dumb.
Okay, there are two aspects, two branches I want to take now, because you mentioned, you know, men coming without shirts. I'm going to throw one in, which is gender bias, and the other is sexualization, which you mentioned both of those things. Now, gender bias, you know, in my part of the world, men crash themselves in public all the time. It's a thing. All right? So why is that? If a woman would do that, God forbid. You know, can you imagine the madness? So the gender bias, men can get away with crap, women cannot. The other side, you know, sexualization. If breastfeeding is sexualized, now you know what's the biggest kink sexualized photos you find on Instagram? Foot fetish. You know what? Every woman pretty much on earth walks around in a feet show, and hundreds of millions of men find that sexual. So should women be forced to cover their feet? Just because I find something sexy or sexual, not sexy but sexual, does not mean it is sexual. It's you know, some people find hair
That's
sexual.
correct.
Some people find hands sexual. Some people find a nose pin sexual. Somebody finds a tattoo sexual. Does not make it sexual per se. It's sexual for someone. So a breastfeeding. Now, I'm not endorsing. I'm not saying you can hang the titties in public. I'm not okaying that.
Sure.
What I'm saying is breastfeeding, of course, you know, with a bit of a cover or whatever. But in public,
Right.
if a child needs to feed within the norms of decency of that society. I mean, if in South Africa or in Germany, I'm sure you don't have to do that either. But of course, if in California, you don't have to. If in Utah, you have to. So wherever your norm of the society is, within that norm, breastfeeding a baby, I don't find that sexual at all. I find it, you know, it's not sexual, and you know, there's gender bias going on there.
I think it just is. You know, that's what I think. I see somebody, like a mother feeding their child, and it just is. It's like, my first thought is, oh, honestly, FQ, my first thought is, oh, thank God that baby's not going to be like screaming and hollering all throughout while I'm trying to do whatever I'm trying to do. So I'm actually appreciative of it. And truthfully, the whole, like, listen, I mean, there's a big difference between being rude and trying to be a provocateur as opposed to feeding your child. And I do not think, and I'll just speak to the United States because I understand, like, it's just, like, my understanding, speaking to Pakistani moms, is that, like, this just doesn't happen. It's just not a topic. And I'm just going to come out and say, as far as the feminine hygiene products, it makes absolutely no sense to me that a woman's fertility cycle is somehow a source of shame when a woman is expected to, like, reproduce and procreate. So it's a very incongruent belief system. I mean, I'm not saying it needs to be discussed or talked about, like, all the time, but why is there shame attached to this? We all know that we piss and poop, right? I'm not saying that needs to be general conversation, but it's not a shameful act. The whole thing is just really, really, I don't understand it, and I do not. And I'm going to say for the United States, where this is an issue, I do not think women need to be subjugated to go into the washroom to feed their child. I can just tell you, I'm not eating in the bathroom. I don't want my child eating in the bathroom. I'm not sitting in a closed car in 115-degree heat, taking and trying to eat my meal by myself. I don't want to do that. Why would I? I mean, I think at the end of the day, the kid, they just want to be fed, right? They're not old enough, but so they just want to know that they're going to get fed. I'm just saying, like, this makes no sense. We take and walk around all over the place with no shirts on. We work out in the workout clothes that I post online all the time. But yet now, if somebody takes and discreetly puts a child into a nursing position, now all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, and it's become some sort of political issue. It's become a morality issue. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? This is feeding a child. Dumb.
Dude, you mentioned the word
human species, we're just stupid.
You know, I'm going to go towards the provocative part. You know what?
Yeah.
What is provocative? There's no shame attached to it. What should not be provocative, there's shame attached to it. You can watch a movie with full frontal nudity with an R rating, and you know what? In the same R rating, I can bet you, I mean, you could have a man holding those boobies in an R-rated movie on bloody Netflix, but you could not have a child sucking on the same tit, feeding on the same movie with an R rating.
I'm going to assume you're right
That's
on that.
how screwed
I don't
up
know. But that is how dumb.
Well, have you ever seen, dude? No, wait, bro.
I've never thought about that, FQ.
That scene.
I've never thought about that at all. But I don't think so. I mean, I'm not saying that you're incorrect. It's just not anything I've ever thought of. Again, the whole topic to me is absolutely just ridiculous. I mean, if like for real, if you're going into a restaurant and seeing a woman nurse and you get a boner, I'm not saying there's a law against it. Like, dumb. Go ahead.
I'm not saying there's a law against it on the movie. What I'm saying is you'll never see it. In family dramas and sitcoms, you'll never see it. Because the reason you won't see it is because it will not be very cool. But you could have full frontal.
Yeah. The only time I see, and what you're talking about, the only time I see like a woman nursing her child, in at least on something I would watch in my country, is on like a National Geographic special. Like it's some sort of like, African, indigenous type of people that are poor, that have, it's all this stuff that makes it out like, I don't know. I watch documentaries as well from National Geographic where, like a whale is nursing its calf. I don't find that sexual either. It is. Babies need to eat. This is, to me, I don't see the sex in this at all. I just don't get it. I don't understand the politicizing of it. This has never made sense to me. And the crazy part of this is I don't think as a guy I really have an opinion on this. As far as like should it, should not, I think that's up to the woman and the child. From the man's perspective, I want my kid to be fed. I want all kids to be fed. From a health perspective, it is better if a child can nurse as opposed to drink formula. From a cost perspective, nursing is cheaper than formula. So, there's so many benefits to it. I don't understand why we have to somehow throw in sex or morals or ethics or anything else into this topic. Nobody says shit when I go to eat.
Okay, I know it's not time, but I want to take a comment right here.
Yeah.
I want to just, I really appreciate the language used, but what language? There's a respectable way of addressing women's body parts, really disgusting way of Mr. Faisal. And then she goes on to say, next time please don't use slang when you address a serious topic. Don't use slang words up your egg. I'm sorry, if you think, what did you, I said, hang your titties? Show your boobs and breasts. You know what? That is not slang. Just open the bloody Urban Dictionary. You can even own dictionary, and you would find it there. This is what's the reason I took this comment right now. This is what's wrong with us.
Right. I agree.
This is what's wrong.
Here we are defending. Here we are saying this doesn't make sense. We're men. This doesn't make sense. we're defending, and now in defending it, it's that now the terminology gets criticized. Yeah, you know, like it just so now
This
you
is
can
exa-
now
this-
you
this
can
is
defend
exactly
it,
what
but
we're
you're
trying
not
to address.
you're not offending.
And what's
it good
wrong with the
enough.
word, man? What's wrong with the word? You know, what's
I
wrong
don't
with the
know.
word? This is how it's commonly referred to. What's right? It's you see, you're
I don't
attaching
know.
shame and insult to the wrong thing.
And that's a woman. That's a female doing that. And I will just come out and say, this topic in the U.S., I see more women trashing other women on this topic than I've ever heard a man say anything about it. Like, to me, most men don't care. Most men, I can just tell you from my experience and the people I come in contact with, most men don't care about this topic. However, like, women seem to like really trash other women about this. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Stop getting hung up on words or whatever. The topic is the topic because it makes no sense.
It's, you know what, you're right. I think it raises an important point. Women are women's worst enemy. And I think the best pastime a woman has, not generally, I mean, I'm not generalizing, but whenever I disclaimer, whenever I make a general statement, I'm talking about the majority, not everybody. Most women, their most favorite pastime is to bring down other women. I very, very rarely see women bucking up another woman. Men buck up men, you know, for even good and bad. If a man's screwing up, they say, hey, way to go, man, let's party away. But women, they have a completely different topic, man, maybe tomorrow. Why are women so insecure that they are in a constant battle with other women?
Because
They are
men
never
made
at
it,
peace
because
with
men
them.
made them, because men contributed to that. That's why.
I don't know, man.
Men contributed to that.
Don't know about
You know,
that.
I think that there's a competitiveness. I think even when you look into the wild, when you look in the wild and you look at just, apex predators, lions, tigers, like the males and females have very different roles, and the females tend to fight amongst each other more than the males. The males might fight, but then I lost. Okay, I guess I got to go leave the pack now. Women just stay and fight to the death. So I don't know. I can't speak to that.
How have men contributed to that, man?
Well, I think men have contributed to it by continuing. When you look at a lot of the positions in society, who's the one photographing the women? It's pretty much men. Who's the one in charge of all of these things? It's mostly men. You don't. I'm just being honest. Like I'll speak to the United States. It's predominantly males in positions of power that have created these situations, and so women feel like they have to live up to a certain standard. I think it's a complex issue.
So why did they have to bring down other women? You know what?
I don't know. I mean, it's the same.
If your theory is right, then women should be standing with women and bucking them up, not pulling them down.
But I see that more. If you look at what's going on, there's a social media, for those whose governments haven't banned their social media yet.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we beat that. We have a court order saying, no way, man.
All I'm going to say is censorship.
No. We beat that.
Dumb.
A good mate of mine, Vakadzaka, took that on, and he's actually beaten that.
Good, because that's.
I'll ask him to come on if he wants one of these.
Well, we're doing it here in the U.S. too. We're doing it here in the U.S. Yeah.
You're passing a law where you can shut any channel without giving any reason. You're actually doing that.
Let's be honest. I mean, the reason TikTok, all we're doing right now is saying China. 4 years ago in 2016, it was Mexicans and Muslims. They're bad, right? Ban them. Mexicans and Muslims, ban them. Now what we're saying is, because that ship has sailed, so now what we're just doing is going the Chinese. And so now we're going to take everything that they're involved with. And really the whole thing with TikTok, people can say what they want. I don't know whether China's watching or not. As far as I know, everybody's watching everybody these days. TikTok is responsible for President Trump's decline in attendance at his rallies. This is why a lot of these rallies, we can say, oh, well, he's just paying attention to Corona. No. The truth is that a bunch of people under the age of 30 years old on TikTok shut that guy down. Yeah. That's what happened. They literally banded together and shut that guy down, and they went in and they signed up for a whole bunch of rally tickets to attend the rally with no intentions of attending. So that's why he ended up with 6,000 people at a rally. It's because of TikTok. Is
She's
that,
a little girl, man.
And because we want to take and like continue to have like butt sex with Modi and stuff, I guess. I don't know. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have said that. But
he's a little whining girl. Did I just become a misogynist by saying that? I don't know. Whatever. Let's look at the comments, man.
yeah, absolutely.
I still don't understand why is the question babies need to be fed and some ask for feed every hour. What is the society expecting of a mother when her baby is hungry? Exactly. Thank you very much, Samir. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. 100% agree. 100% agree. And I want to take this one just because I've been practicing.
Sure.
So this, I would say, woo, salam alaikum. No, woo alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
There it is. See, I keep practicing. I'll get it.
Who the public is to give that right to a mother? If my son is crying for it, he needs it. I don't care what public says. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
More power to you.
That's a powerful, empowered mother. Thank you. We need our mothers to stand up for this. We need our kids to be fed.
Interesting discussion. Every show is interesting, my friend. You should watch us more often.
Okay.
Never be afraid to nurse in public. People don't see it. It will never become normalized. Yeah, well, there you go.
Thank you,
Fair
Kushba.
point.
I appreciate that. Yeah, fair point. Thank you. Oh, this is interesting. It's not good in front of public being Muslims. So I don't know if I think this person is saying that the topic is good, but like doing this feeding in front of other Muslims can be problematic. Listen, I'm gonna say like feeding like here in the U.S. like it is very, very controversial, and it just like again it makes no sense to me. I can just tell you from my perspective, I do not want my wife forced into having to sit in a lavatory or a hot car or go sit outside or go like somehow like feel shame because our child needs to eat. This is just the dumbest thing ever. And if that's something that you sexualize, there's plenty of ways to get that fetish met. Go to Pornhub or any of these other things we talked about recently, and I guarantee you'll find that. So like, but until then, like keep your sexual fetishes off of other people.
I guess they missed the point where I said you can do it within the norms of your environment.
Sure.
You would cover up accordingly, but a woman should not have to leave and go into. Okay, I'm going to take this. It's not about being conservative. It's about what our religion asks us to do. Your religion tells us not to feed children. Where did that come? In fact, if I remember right, religion tells us very clearly to make sure that you breastfeed babies. We're only having a discussion that should it be done in public. We're saying yes, but of course you take appropriate precautions based on where you are. If you're in Germany, you would have to take this many precautions, California this much, Utah this much, Pakistan this much. But you take the necessary precautions and then you do it.
Right, absolutely. And here's something
Stephanie.
Yeah. Stephanie, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well said. 100%, more power to you.
100% agree with your perspective on this. Absolutely.
Okay, that somebody gave this answer anyways. Aram said, so religion says don't feed your baby, let them starve for hours. Thank you.
Well, this is interesting. Stephanie, I'm not sure. Is it breastfeeding week? I mean, we is
it?
FQ here. I mean,
is it actually?
Dude, we have colored ribbons and we celebrate every single thing. Every single obscure thing in this.
Dude, it's from 1st August till the 7th August. We didn't know about this.
I did not know about that. I just think it's funny that we.
Way to go.
I think it's so funny we celebrate.
We got lucky there, man.
And it's just so ridiculous. I don't think it should be an issue either way. I just don't think it should be celebrated, or I don't think it's something that needs to be celebrated or condemned. It is. That's it.
Okay, doesn't say breastfeed your baby, but you don't have to do it in publicly. Stop collaborating with it. I don't know what you're saying, but you know what? If a woman is on a train and she's traveling, if a baby's hungry, what should she do? Jump off the train? If in a plane, if in an automobile, if in a bus, if you're at a station, if you're at a shopping mall, what should she do with the baby? Go and feed the baby in the bathroom? in the toilet, like Dennis said? Would you feed your baby next to poop?
Would you eat next to poop?
Yeah, thank you.
I mean,
maybe she does. Hey, maybe they would.
I don't know,
man.
man. Like, I don't understand this whole thing, and it's just crazy to me. Bushra, our good friend, thank you for joining in.
Oh, no. I mentioned earlier, you missed that. On Instagram, the highest, the most watched fetish is feet. Okay? I'm so sorry. You can sexualize anything.
Yeah.
Breasts are sexualized, yes, but then so are bums. No one's talking about not showing a bum. You can show your bum. And you know what's interesting, Bushra? Interestingly, you can show the breasts, you just cannot breastfeed. Why is there shame in breastfeeding? I mean, you could wear the skimpiest little thing. You could put a Band-Aid. In some states, you can actually walk down the street with a little Band-Aid on the nipples, and it's perfectly all right. But you can't breastfeed because society's going to put a shame to it. What the hell is that about? I mean, Dennis mentioned, spring break. Take a drive down Pensacola Beach, and you're going to see some amazing stuff. And in the same place, you could not breastfeed. They'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? I think it's not sexualization, Dennis. I think people just don't want to see it, man. Be like,
I think it's probably both. I think it's probably both. And I'm actually going to come out and say, Bushra, I agree with. I think I agree with where I think you're coming from on this, and I agree that the breast is very, very sexualized. I also agree with FQ in that, like, there's a difference between seeing a breast and seeing a child eat from it. I mean, that is what it is intended. That's what it's intended to do. I mean, that is what its function is. Listen, Bushra, thank you so much. I appreciate this because I don't understand. And maybe, you know what, I don't understand, and maybe that's because that, I'm an ass man. I don't know. I'm just simply saying, like, the whole topic is absolutely crazy, but I do agree that here in the United States, the concept of feeding a child is dominated. I think breastfeeding gets overshadowed by the sexualization of this whole, of the breast, of all of it. And until seriously, we all get so tied up and caught up into these semantics with what religion may or may not say. And really, if we just focused on certain things like loving each other, serving one another, and caring for each other, if those three things were at the top, we wouldn't be condemning each other for feeding our children or saying a bad word at an inappropriate time, or we're just so fucking judgmental. I'm over it.
Bro, an interjection here. Interestingly, exposing the breast is not a problem. Breastfeeding is a problem, one. Secondly, we're not saying that you do it like pop it out in public and stick a baby. No, you take the necessary whatever, but you can do it publicly. We're not saying that you should pop it out and just flash it, but you should be able to do it publicly. Yeah, it's like like many things. I'm not going to go into stupid examples, but we're not talking about exposing breasts. We're talking about feeding through them. Why is that a no-no? Stephanie, again, a fantastic comment.
Yeah. Listen, Stephanie, yes, totally agree. The only, the only time I even question it at all, when I see kids, my theory is that if you're able to hold a conversation with a child and they come up and they like go to the tap themselves at 5, 6, I don't know the right age. I'm just simply saying that, we need to just be like cognizant of this. And here in the United States, and I won't speak to anywhere else, there are people that do a lot of things to be social media provocateurs. They'll take their shirts off and dance around, or they'll put a kid on there just to take and like create drama or create some sort of a narrative. As far as breastfeeding, listen, please continue to do it. It is the healthiest thing that we know, especially right now when we really don't know what's going to happen, with the immunities and COVID and everything else.
Yeah.
So, Stephanie, I commend you. I think you're doing the absolute best you can for your child, and I appreciate you for that. And I appreciate you for saying thank you and supporting us. So,
thank you very much. Yeah, way to go. Khushbu's made $1 million comment. If you think there's a problem breastfeeding, you are the problem.
Hey, Khushbu.
Way to go, girl.
Yeah. Double fists on that one. Cool
So Rafi
deal.
says, well, men have dirty minds, so everything that someone says, they take it to say. You know, maybe I'm going to stay away from the gender fight right now. Let's take your statement as correct, though it's incorrect. Let's take it as correct. Then, you know what, why? Then there should be nothing visible. And since men seems to be the problem that they can sexualize everything, instead of shutting everything, maybe we should just shut the men. Or maybe put blinkers on them. You know?
Yeah, let me give you my
blindfold the idiots, man.
So
I mean, if
it's
they're going
really-
to sexualize everything, blindfold them.
It's interesting to me, you know, coming from here in the United States where I do, and I live on the West Coast, so it's a little bit hotter, and people are, you know, other than Florida, the East Coast is pretty conservative. They dress up quite a bit more than we do on the West. What I can tell you though is in my travels through the Middle East and Arab countries, Muslim majority countries and stuff, I can tell you one of the things that I appreciated for real. Now hear me out. One of the things I truly appreciated was going to a country where, truthfully, I didn't. It wasn't about sex at all. I was much more able to focus on intellect. I was more able to focus on the person, because when we and men and women both, So I prefer modesty. I think we all have different definitions of what modest is. I'm a kind of guy that I'll take my shirt off when I'm working out or in the pool, but I will not like drive my car that way. And here where I live, you'll see all kinds of guys like driving around with no shirt on. It's the craziest thing. I don't get it. It's just too hot. But my point is that I think that there is some value I think that there is a lot of value in modesty, and because it takes some of that out of the equation right away. So I'm not saying anybody needs to do that because a man can't, you know, whatever. I think that if we take and truly respect ourselves, respect our bodies, respect our being, then we don't need to go around showing off everything. That's just my opinion, and that's thrown in there for shits and giggles.
So this is in continuation to the gender thing. I fully agree. If a guy cusses, it's all right. If a woman does, it's yeah. I agree with you.
And I'm going to just come out and say, Rafia, if I hear a woman talking the same way I do, I'm much more likely to be her friend. So and appreciate those comments. So I think I just don't know that we can always. I am a big. I have major problems, and it causes me a lot of hang-ups when I hear these sweeping generalizations. I do agree to a point, but I also think that there's enough of us, like every female in my life, with the exception of April, speak like sailors. I don't know. There's also a lot of data that says that people that use the F word on a regular basis are highly intelligent, and that's what I like to listen to because that fits my narrative.
Okay, this is a comment, a very good comment, man. As a mom, I often think that reproductive and nursing ways are far difficult for us. I once faced such a time when my baby was crying. I fed him covering myself fully, but everyone just stopped and looked at me like I'm doing something illegal or sinful. It was really embarrassing how people reacted. This is exactly what we're talking about. She's covering herself up and doing something natural and necessary, and people are shaming her and making her feel uncomfortable. That's the issue we're trying to address. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, thank you. And I have heard this. Well, I wouldn't just like go to the bathroom in public. Why would you do that? Because it's not the same. I mean, if that's how you feel, like then you're just an idiot.
How can eating and shitting be put in the same bracket?
Dude, listen, I'm just telling you, this is what people, that's why you go to the bathroom and do that stuff. It's stuff coming out of your body. Yeah, but like you're the same idiot that won't wear a mask. All right. Yeah, thank you very much. Here, right Federation says breast, not tits, not boobs, because it's mainly used as long as it's objective. There you go. Osama, boobs, tits, breast, they all talk about the same thing. What's happening, the images it's creating in your mind, that is the filth in your mind. I am responsible for what I say. You are responsible for how you visualize it or what you see from it. Yeah? Should we just refer to it as mammary glands?
Yeah, why not?
Should we just
let's call
refer
them
to it
mammary
as
glands.
mammary glands?
Yeah. Why even breast, man? We are we have just a couple of minutes left.
Yeah.
So we need to quickly. Amber says women not allowed to breastfeed publicly in a society is one of the reasons. Oh, beautiful! What a comment. Why women are switching to bottle feeding since they find breastfeeding a hassle and making the babies wait. Thank you very much. What a beautiful point.
Can you explain it to me?
Well, she's saying because women are being shamed on breastfeeding, so they don't have a choice but to pre-pump the milk in bottles or give them other feed or other milk because they have to feed the baby. What do? They can't breastfeed, so they're giving them unnatural milk.
Yeah, and you know, it's a really interesting topic for me, only because, like, I grew up, I literally did, and so I grew up hearing my mother talk very, very negatively about breastfeeding or nursing their children. And so I grew up learning, like I did, I grew up thinking it was disgusting, it was bad, and there was absolutely no need for it. Here in the like late 60s into the mid 70s in the United States, the formula companies put on a massive propaganda campaigns. And so it kind of demonized. I'm going to come out and say, I think capitalism in the United States played a part in this, in that we had to take and put all kinds of propaganda out from the, and advertising from the companies that make infant formula. And so I think infant formula has its place. I think infant formula has its place. I think it's a really good thing for supplementation. And I can speak to our experiences. April nursed our children, and our oldest, like she just dried up. I think she was like 6 or 7 months into the process, and literally she just stopped producing milk. Our youngest, she had to wean him because that's not the same thing. So I think formula has a place.
Supplemental milk is A-okay. It's a necessity because there are many situations and reasons why that exists. But what the point Amber is making is that you're having to give up on breastfeeding because of this stupidity.
It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense, and it makes no sense to me at all. And if a child is hungry and I'm in public, Amber, if your child's acting out because they're hungry, please feed them, because I don't want to tolerate the negative behavior. It's that simple.
Last two comments, quick. This one, I believe breastfeeding in public isn't a big problem in the West. We have seen even the PM. Well, I see when you say West, you're generalizing the West. First of all, Australia and New Zealand are not even the West. New Zealand, Australia are at a different level of acceptability, of accepting things. Europe is another. We're talking about America, which is extremely conservative, and my apologies in saying that. I don't mean to offend anybody. I have some amazing friends there. Is half cuckoo, and what's happened in the past 4 months, America has proven to be very cuckoo, and thus this topic. No offense, bro. I mean, you're my brother.
I think it's to me, the West. I can't speak to Australia or New Zealand. What I can say is here in the United States, for whatever reason, this has become it's become political. You'd think it was almost the same type of a topic as abortion. It's just an insanity to me, like insanity.
Okay, Kashif, this is the last comment. You know what? You're a moron. We're not talking about exposing. Actually, I should have not taken this comment. My apologies. People who haven't watched, they just jump in and throw shit. Screw them, man. We should not give them attention. We should use the time to look at better people. Interesting, man. Amber's making some good points. Dennis, women dry up faster when she's facing hurdles breastfeeding. Hence, formula milk is the other choice, which is getting more common in Pakistan or the conservative societies in the West. Good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, on that note.
I think that as far as drying up, I don't know. I mean, that she went to the doctor, everything. It just happens sometimes. It's the way it is. And so, I think all of it is good. What I want to kind of just leave everybody with is like, listen, every time you point a finger at somebody doing something wrong, every time you point that finger at somebody else, there's always at least 3 fingers pointing back at you. So get your shit together before you start taking and passing judgment on other people. As far as the topic today is like, you know what, like I am going to agree, I believe it was Kushbu that said it, if this is a problem for you, then it's your problem.
Yeah.
Don't make it somebody else's. Like,
No, no. She didn't say it's your problem. She said you are the problem. Even better.
Even better. Even better. So I like to finish everything, every broadcast is, look, I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Stay safe, healthy, and blessed.
Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
See ya.